Hey, CodeCrew, what's up? It's Chris here. So today I am so excited to be talking to Steve because a couple of days ago he reached out and he wanted to see if you guys would be interested in hearing about how to come up with the winning app ideas. And I was like, well, this guy's reading my mind because as you guys know, we're going to start doing monthly app challenges. And I've been racking my head about what sorts of apps I could create. And I was kind of shooting in the dark. I was thinking about what would I want, but I didn't really have any sort of data or any sort of way to validate the idea. And so I know Steve's the guy to talk to when it comes to that sort of stuff. He's got the #1 app business podcast. He's interviewed people, director of Shazam, creator of Color Switch. Podcast is over hundreds of episodes long. But as I understand today, he's got a presentation for us to tell us exactly how to go through that process and not, shoot in the dark and waste our time. Really figure out, is my app idea, does it have the potential to rank up there, compete with the other apps in the space, and at the end of the day, generate a nice and healthy passive income for us. So Steve, hi.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on. We're close to we're over 700 episodes now.
That is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, I wanted to provide your audience with the tools and the step-by-step process on how to find winning app ideas. And I'll tell you a quick story of why I feel like it's so important. I had a friend of mine who we ended up working together to help grow his app. It was a game, really well designed. It was a Scrabble meets solitaire game.
Yeah.
I thought everything was awesome. We drove tens of thousands of downloads on a very limited budget. He even spent more money on this. We got it featured by Apple. We did phenomenally well with this app.
Yeah.
Guess what happened, Chris?
Well,
He had to shut it down because it was not engaging enough, was not retaining its users, and it wasn't monetizing enough. And this was a game that he spent lots of time on. And so he went through this exact process that I'm about to show you, and it completely turned his company around because he had 3 months of cash runway left. And he's like, look, I got to figure out what's working in the app space and kind of make similar apps. And when he did that, it totally flipped his company around, and he was able to save his company.
That's a great story. That's amazing.
Should I go into it then?
Yeah. Right. I'm excited. I'm waiting. Let's do it.
Because I was in a similar boat. In 2011, I started making apps, and I was like, this would be cool. And so right now, I'm going to show you the step-by-step process, and you're going to find that there are some apps out there making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and you would be like, what? This simple thing? I can do this in a weekend using CodeWithChris. All right, Here we go, Chris. All right, guys. So here's the tools. App Annie, these are all free tools, and I'll go into some of the paid options if you guys want to go more advanced, but these are all free right now. All right, I'm in my App Annie account. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to sign in. You can sign up for free, and then you're going to go into the top charts here. And obviously, because of the things that are happening right now, you're going to find that Zoom, all these other apps are doing pretty well. And you're going to want to see, what you want to see is what types of apps are grossing the most. So the main column that you want to focus on is this grossing tab. You're going to see the more popular ones, right? Fortnite, Tinder, Clash of Clans, all this stuff. And so what I like to do is these are going to be the obvious ones so that you can see all the way to the top 100. What I like to do is, let's say, Chris, do you have an idea? Is there a certain category that you would want to focus on?
Yeah, I wanted to focus on health and wellness. I'm really interested in that. I think that's a huge part of our lives that are lacking, especially in the IT space. And so, like meditation type of apps, home workouts, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it's very telling. So what you can do then, Chris, is go into this category, and then you can sort it by health and fitness. Perfect. And you can see which ones are the top grossing apps. And you can go down as far as you want. So maybe the most popular ones are going to be the obvious ones. And so I'm going to scroll down fast, and you slow me down if you need me to, but you're going to just look through some of these, and you can get to 500, right? And I found that you want to probably stay within the first 200 because once 500, they're probably not making as much money as you want. Okay. So it's a great way to kind of look through everything. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to try to find an app. So I found an app for you guys that I think is super easy to make. I personally like the entertainment space.
Sure.
Because, you'd be surprised because I find that they're a little bit easier to make like there's a celebrity voice changer app that is making $300,000 that I found.
Wow.
And I did a little analysis on this. And so I found entertainment apps are pretty easy to make. And so I like to explore that category, right? So here's an app that I found for you guys. It's called Find Hidden Objects in Picture. Super simple app. And here it is. So it just says, can you find all the hidden objects in this main picture?
My daughter has a book exactly like this. It's in
No
book
way.
form. Yeah.
It's like, where's Waldo, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Super simple idea.
Mhm.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You find this app, you're gonna go into a tool called Sensor Tower. You're gonna sign up, again, free, absolutely free, or just sign up for a trial if you need to. And then I found this app, so I clicked on it just to make sure we don't have any loading problems. You click here.
Can I pause you there for a second, Steve? So just to recap for anyone and also for my own understanding, App Annie was where we looked at kind of the top grossing charts, basically to get an idea of what's making money, what's working in the App Store in terms of generating revenue. But then now we're jumping over to Sensor Tower to look deeper into a specific app.
Correct.
And why is that? Why we can't do that in App Annie, or it's a different tool?
Yeah, App Annie won't expose those numbers because unless you pay, essentially.
I see.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Sorry. And here's where it is, right? It's number 30 under top grossing. And I just scrolled, right? Like I was just scrolling and then I was like, what is this find hidden objects in picture? Like that's a cool name for it. And so I clicked into this and then I'm going to go into why you might need this screen, but here we won't see any revenue numbers. So we'll need another tool to give us that. Okay. Great question. So I'm in Sensor Tower now. What I did essentially was just look for that app and I just said, find hidden objects in picture. And then I clicked on this and it brought me to here. And here is the app page. And this is where you can see the revenue numbers. So they did in February 2020, they did about 1 million downloads and then 300,000 in revenue. And obviously when you get these huge numbers, they're going to be doing some advertising. But just imagine if you don't want to spend any money on marketing, if you can just get a piece of the pie of that 300,000 and make a similar app, just think like we as indies, we probably just need to make 1/10 of that and be like, that's pretty good money, right? Yeah. And so just think about that, the value. And that's where you see, okay, here's an opportunity for me. So maybe now I can spin it, right? Now your wheels should be turning. Maybe I could spin it for kids, or maybe I can have different animations or their hero characters or different graphics. So you should go check out the app and figure out what it's doing and then figure out how you can easily create a similar app to it.
But one thing I want to note here is that it's hard to determine if maybe the advertising is completely driving the revenue. Like without the advertising, that they'd have zero. And so I just want to point out that you could keep scrolling down the list, right? There's 500 entries over on the App Annie side, and you can try and find an app that might not be doing zero, doing zero advertising, so that you can model it after or get a better idea of what no advertising would look like.
True. And I'm going to show you ways where you can still drive growth without advertising too. And Chris, you brought up a good point too. Here's all the top in-app purchases. So, you can figure out, are they making money off of ads on their own? Like, is it ad generated or is it a subscription? And mostly you're going to find that a lot of these top grossing apps are subscription based. And it's surprising the number of people that are in the weekly. And I'll get into some of the things why you may not want to do weekly, but you'll also find that a lot of these high grossing apps are charging on a weekly basis.
Wow.
Okay. So you're like, wow, this is great. So easy to build. We're going to hop back into App Annie. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to go into the review section, right?
Okay.
And then what you want to really look for are, what are people loving about the app? And then what are people not liking about the app? And that gives you ideas on how you can improve upon an existing successful app idea and maybe things that you can keep in the app. And so I'm in the ratings section and you can go and sort by the most critical. Right? And here's why I'm telling you, maybe you don't want to do a weekly subscription, because the first review we see, it's like, this does not tell you that it will charge you weekly. This app is a joke. Stay away. right? So be
Yeah.
careful. That's why I'm like, you might want to do monthly. You don't want to trick your users into it. But you can start reading through what people hate about the game and how you might be able to improve upon it. And so maybe they hate that they have to pay. But look, most people hate that they have to pay. So I would probably like take that with a grain of salt. But you can start reading through, and you can sort this by English. As you can see, there's other languages up here. You can sort it by English if you want. Worldwide, there's a little filter here. Sorry, my computer's getting stuck.
And it's crazy to me that it's got a cumulative rating of 2.6, but it's making $300,000 a year. Sorry, a month.
Yeah. Well, I think if you do, totally right. It's got tons of ratings, and it was just the thing is it was just launched May of 2019. So you can see that within Sensor Tower, that it was launched towards the end of May 2019. So again, you can start reading through these and figure out what is good about the app, what is bad about the app, how you can improve upon the app, and start building a different version of this app. Now, my friend that I told you earlier in the story, early in the interview, that's exactly what he did. He created a similar app to what he found that he said, I can do this. I'm going to create this and create a very similar type of feel. And he remixed it, right? He built a community upon it without revealing what the app is. He added some features that he thought would be more valuable than the existing app as well. Cool. Any questions here, Chris?
I mean, this is just great. Like, I can't believe this is free. Like, this is a free account, right?
Yeah, this is definitely a free account. My Sensor Tower is paid, but you can get it for free.
Because in one of my articles around generating app ideas, I talk about this too, and I talk about how you should look through an app's reviews. But I told people to literally go on the App Store and scroll through those reviews. But this makes it so easy.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And you can sort totally through critical and the favorable. And so you can make it, if you just want to see 1 stars, you can do all that right here.
Yeah. This is gold. This is time savings.
Yeah. And then here's the trend if you wanted to see that. All right. The next thing we want to do is look, maybe you don't want to spend money on advertising. Totally understandable. So how do you get growth? One of the ways is through App Store optimization, which is essentially SEO for the App Store, right? Having the right keywords in your app title, your subtitle, your keyword fields. We can get in depth on this, but I want to give you sort of a little taste of how you can start thinking about what to name that particular app. Now you have an app idea, you know it's successful, it's been proven, you're going to build upon it, you're going to maybe remix some things. Well, you're going to go to another tool called App Follow. Again, this is a free account, so everything you're seeing is from my free account. You're going to go into this traffic score section, and then you're going to put in the app that you just found. So here's what I did. Chris, I feel like this is like a cooking show, like hey, put these flavors and then boom, it's done. And this is what I'm doing.
Hey, if we could automate all of this into a workflow and just, have it pop out gold app ideas for us, that'd be brilliant.
Totally. So I put find hidden objects in picture again. Right? I put this app in this tool, and this is what I love about App Follow is it gives me all the keywords that Apple is actually suggesting. So if you put this app into Apple search ads, which you can do for free, you're going to get Apple suggestions on what this app should be bidding on, the keywords that they should be bidding on. So that's why I love this tool, is because this is literally from Apple's tool, right? Like, hey, this is what Apple is suggesting. And what I found here is a lot of different keywords. Now, it won't give you the difficulty, but it'll give you the popularity. And so if you want to pay for some tools or maybe sign up for a free trial, what I typically do is hit this little button right here to copy. And then I put all these keywords into a paid tool so I can get the difficulty scores. And what I've found are sometimes you'll get some misspellings. You'll find, these keywords have good traffic, but low difficulty. And so for you on a limited budget, if you're not going to get any paid advertising, well, you're going to want to try to find those keywords with, I would say, anywhere from a popularity score of above 30, and that has a lower difficulty score anywhere from 80 and up, depending on the ASO tool you're going to use.
Okay.
You want that, because Sensor Tower will give you a difficulty score similar to the popularity. And so the lower, the better there. So I would say anything 30 and under from a difficulty score. Some other scores are chance. So it's the higher number is better. But lower difficulty would be 3 and under, or if it's a chance score, 70 above.
Okay, so just to see if I got this straight, this app follow doesn't tell you what the difficulty scores are, but you take this list, you pop it into your own keyword tool, and there's just a whole number out there. And usually keyword tools will have a difficulty score for you. So you want to target, can you go back and which one should we be targeting?
The lower difficulty scores. And I don't know how to explain the lower difficulty because it all depends on the ASO tool you use. Yeah. But anything that I would say is below, let's say a 30. So if it's on a 1 to 10 scale, right? 3 and under would be the ones that you want to target.
Okay, cool. So below half, below a third.
Yeah.
All right. And these keywords you're working into your app title, your description, and that sort of stuff?
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you exactly where you want to put them. You want to put the most valuable keywords. So let's say you found a gold mine. You're like, this keyword has high traffic, lower difficulty. You definitely want to put it in the app title. That has the most weight. And so that's why I want to share this with you guys before you even make the app, is because then you can start thinking through. Let's say you find here, there's one that I found here that I thought it was pretty valuable, like puzzle, right? That's misspelled. Now, I don't know what the difficulty is yet, and I can kind of figure this out for you on the fly, but this becomes like an interesting, right? Like keyword, because it's misspelled and it has decent traffic. 35 is not too bad. And so it might be a way that you start thinking through, oh, I might be able to incorporate this keyword somehow and search without the E and without the vowels. Like that might be interesting. I think it might be another app, but these are now, it gives you ideas on what you might be able to call that particular app.
Okay.
Make sense?
Right.
Okay.
Because some app names, they spell things funny. It's because I was about thinking you wouldn't want to literally put a typo into your app description. That doesn't sound very professional, but some app names are funnily spelled, like Hexa.
Right. Well, actually, Chris, so I had a client and it was let's say it was a puzzle app, right? Without revealing too much either. But let's say it was a puzzle app and we found a keyword like this, puzzle. Now this has a higher difficulty. So this is what I was referring to, right? Sensor Tower is going to give you, and this is a paid one, but 8.3, which is really high because Sensor Tower, you want it to be low. So this wouldn't be a keyword that I would want to target, but we found one that was a misspelling like this and it had a very low difficulty with similar traffic scores. And we didn't use it in a prominent place because obviously you don't want a misspelling there, but we did put it into, so there's a trick where you can use the Spanish Mexico. There's a Spanish localization within the app stores and you can put English keywords in there. So rather than putting Spanish, because it's really meant for the Mexico market. But if you put English in there, it's indexed by the US App Store. And so what we did, Chris, we put that particular misspelling into the Spanish Mexico title, or you could put in subtitle, and we were able to rank number 1 and 2. I think it was top 2 for that keyword. And that dramatically helped us grow downloads for this particular app.
Wow, that's a ninja hack right there. It's like doubling the space you have to put your keywords and your descriptions and stuff.
Right. And so what I really wanted to show with this was thinking about ways that you can sort of use different keywords on how you might be wanting to name your particular app. So whether it's hidden objects in a picture, obviously this app title is going after a ton of keywords, right? Find hidden objects in picture. That is right. I am trying to optimize for a lot of different keywords.
And, this exercise is really helpful right now because this is the process where you're thinking about your app idea. You haven't created yet. You haven't named it yet. But let's say you have, and then you're doing this after that. Are you able to just change your app name? Maybe rebranding inside the app might be difficult, but in terms of an app store listing, can you just go ahead and change the title?
Yeah. So before we move on to that, and I'm going to answer that question, I do want to show one last thing. So within App Annie, you can go to this other tab. So you saw the reviews, right? And you can go into keywords. And what I like about App Annie, again, this is free. App Annie is the only tool that will give you the keywords that this particular app ranks well for. So then it'll give you ideas on, now you don't know if this has traffic, unfortunately, unless you pay, but it will give you ideas on what keywords are driving growth. As long as there's traffic for these particular keywords, what keywords are driving growth for this particular app. And so it's a great way to start obviously doing more keyword research and figuring out what keywords to use within your app and title.
That's
Okay.
great. That's great.
So back to your question about, I've already launched it, Steve. I watched this a little bit too late. It's out in the app stores. But what you can do is change the title. So you still want certain keywords within the title, and you can still use these free tools to figure out what those titles are going to be, but you can change that. You just need to upload a new build. And from a code perspective, that build could be the same thing, but you do need to upload a new build.
Got it.
So the other thing I would say, Chris, if you start thinking about icons are very important, screenshots are very important, you want your screenshots to have a little bit of social proof or talk about the benefits. I think too many times developers, and I follow you on Instagram, they just put the screen of the app, right? So you want to put certain keywords, not keywords, but this is a simple way. Like, can you find all the hidden objects? I immediately get what the game is all about based on this. So if you just put this screen that just shows you a screen of the actual gameplay, it's not helpful. Add some screens in here. You found it. Well done. Challenge yourself. Win a trophy. I mean, these are simple screenshots, and this app is making $300,000 a month, right? But like, you can add more stuff, like compete with your friends or harder than you think. So there are ways, and you can, going back to Sensor Tower, you can see what ads are performing well for them. And that can give you inspirations on what kind of screenshots, because if they're spending money on this is probably a high performing ad, right? So this will give you some inspiration on what types of words that you can use because they're running this as an ad for your screenshots as well.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, so that's mainly it. I don't know if you had any other questions.
Just a couple of comments on the screenshot front, because it goes back to the whole "don't make me think" philosophy, right? So make it really simple. Anything that people are spending brain power on, there's a chance for them to just hit that back button, right?
Totally. I'm so glad you brought this up, because I was reading this book too, and I'm a big believer in this. We've A/B tested a bunch of this. Sometimes we try to be too clever for our own good, right? And you came up with a brilliant YouTube channel, CodeWithChris. I get it. And I think it's the clear titles, the clear app names, the clear messaging that wins over and over again, rather than you trying to be too clever.
Yeah. Right now I'm going through this book without going too far into a tangent, but it's called Story Brand, and it's basically...
Dude, I'm reading the same thing.
Yeah? All right, we'll chat about it later. But anyways, it's clear messaging is the main pitch of that book. But going back to the app stuff, this is gold. This is brilliant because it's a data-driven way, right, to get some proven app ideas. But one thing I'm sure are on people's minds are, okay, we're modeling our app idea after something that's successful, but inherently then you're thinking that you need to beat them, or are you just trying to get a little bit of that success?
Unless you have the biggest budget and you want to try to beat them, look, I'm all for it. But I think what you want to try to do is figure out what's already working and then just improve upon it. And as an indie developer out there who's just getting started, well, too many times we all have this very similar story of our first app and being so beautiful and spending so much time on it, and then checking the app stores every day and being like, oh, I'm going to see $1 million right after launch, right? And that doesn't happen, right? And so it's a proven model that helped save my friend's company, who's already made apps, who's making money, just couldn't find a way to sustain that growth. It's a proven model to do it that way. And so as a startup, as an indie, you just want a piece of that pie of a proven model.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's almost like, I think a lot of people approach this when they want to build an app. They have their own great idea, maybe something that it doesn't even exist right there, right? And so you're putting it out there and you want to take a chance. I think that's cool because it's your own creative idea and it's like a labor of love, right? It's something that you want to see out in reality, but what you want might not be the thing that particularly sells. And I think it goes back to authors, right? Some people just want to write what they want to write, and some people need to write, or maybe movies, right? Like indie films versus blockbusters. There's a certain type of book or film or app that works and sells.
Right.
And so what would you recommend for someone? I guess it really depends on their goal, right? If they're trying to make money from the app store or not.
Yeah, I think, and I think building a a new brand or a completely different app idea is going to take a lot of investment. And so if this is going to be your first couple of apps, then start small, start with a proven model, and then you can always level up, right? And so there are friends of ours that have built an app, they're very successful. Now they want to take it to the next level, right? And so I think if you're just starting out that journey, you want to find something that's proven, because too many times we all have this energy that we want to learn something, we build it and we get it out there and we just don't see it, and it becomes deflating and we just don't get motivated. And so I think that's the way I see life is I can start this now, it's going to be popular, or I'm going to get it to a certain level. And then if it's making money, great. I'm going to move on to something bigger. Yeah. And now I have a story that says, look, I already made a successful app. I'm going after a bigger vision, this brand new app idea that nobody's ever seen. Now maybe you need some investors for that too.
Yeah, and now you've got some capital to invest into your new idea, which is maybe something nobody has ever seen, and you have to educate the population on what this is and why it's good. And that takes a lot more investment. That's a good point.
Right. And, I point to this because I get this question too, but I point to this app called Hooked, where, are you familiar with it, Chris?
It's the stories one?
Yeah, it's a chat stories, right?
Okay.
And so you got to check it out. Like, it is so well done in terms of the onboarding process. Like, I literally wanted to sign up after going through that tutorial, but they sort of created a brand new category, right? Nobody knew about what chat stories were until she created this category, and she was a past podcast guest of mine. Oh. But essentially, like, that's hard. But she came from a company where she created an app that's Mulebot, right? And so now there's some capital. Now she can try to do something different, and she has some experience with it. So I think when you're building that first app, you don't know the intricacies. Hey, what should I call my app title? What should I have my subtitles be? What should my screenshots? And then I didn't know I had to get Apple to approve every little thing that I'm going to build, right? Like, and so there's all these little intricacies that you don't know until you actually go through it, and going through it with a winning model will give you that motivation to keep going. Because I know back in the day when I created my app, I was like remixing certain things, and I was just like, oh, this would be a great app idea. And I launched it as a paid app. And back then in 2011, paid apps were still profitable. And so that next day I was like, hey, honey, trust this, watch this. Because my very first app got like thousands of downloads a day as a free app. So I was like, oh, if I can get like half of that, we're going to be great. But it was zero. And then I just started implementing more. Like, I added color, I started changing some screenshots, and then it got to a pretty good level where I was making, $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And I was like pretty happy with this because I was just doing it on the side, right?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if someone follows that strategy to find, good app ideas to model after, are there any kind of red flags that would say, no, you shouldn't follow this app idea, you shouldn't try to compete with it? What are the things that should dissuade someone from proceeding?
Great question. I think it would be anything that you would feel like is trendy, right?
Okay.
So I guess, with the coronavirus going on right now, it would be something that you feel like this doesn't have legs. Like, there's things where it's going to pop and then it's going to go down. So I think like things like casual games where things are their life cycle is very, very small, right? Their lifetime value. And so that needs a lot of budget, a lot of things. And what I would look for is, how long has the app been out? How long are they been doing this? Is this just a spike, a trendy thing that's going to go away? Or is this something built upon something else, an existing idea? Like you said with that app that we kind of featured, you said, my daughter has a book about this.
Yeah.
That's a great, like, aha, like, it's already existing somewhere else. I'm going to make it even better.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so it goes back to looking for types of apps that would be useful, not just trendy and might go away.
Right.
And the other types of apps that are more long-term are content-based ones. So I want to get your thoughts around, apps that are only useful because of the content that they provide, like Spotify and Audible. Because when people ask me about if I want to make money out of the App Store, my first thoughts are like, I want to create, because CodeWithChris is a content-based business. I'm thinking content, right? I'm thinking, I'll create an app that has a lot of valuable content, and I would charge a subscription for it. But obviously, content-based apps, I think, also have downsides. So I'd like to get your input on content or not.
Oh, I love content-based businesses. I just think it requires a lot. Like, as you know, because we're both sort of in a
Hmm.
content-based business, you got to keep creating the content. So it's not just one
Hmm.
of these things like a find hidden objects thing. I have
That's
a friend
true.
of mine that does a sleep sounds app that does pretty well in the app store, like, above 50K a month, and simple designs, and he doesn't have to create much more content along as the functionality is there. So if with a content base, I think it's a great model. I just think it's more of an active income rather than a passive one.
Mm.
So if you're looking for a passive one that you can sort of just let it out there and kind of stay back, then these type of apps are the ones that are better. But one of the things to keep users engaged is to create new content. So I guess I'm contradicting myself at the same sentence, but like, you're always going to need to create new content regardless. But I like the content if you can do it.
Yeah, I mean there's a big difference because a content-based business is you're creating a lot of content, whereas the other types of apps, I think it goes without saying that if you just let your app go stale, things change, right? Rankings change, competitors pop up and stuff. So you kind of have to be staying on top of it. So it's not completely passive, but it's more passive than actively working
Yeah,
for someone.
totally.
So yeah. Anyways, that's awesome, Steve. I'm so glad that we had this call because I don't have any sort of content like this. It is not really my expertise. So I'm so glad that you reached out. Yeah. So can you tell us where people can find out more about you, where to join your podcast and your site?
Yeah. You just go to appmasters.com. We also have a YouTube channel, so check that out as well,
Yeah.
appmasters.com/YouTube. But Chris, like, what I want to talk to one last thing is, I think we try to innovate too much. And a lot of times if you do the research, kind of like what you and I were talking about before we hit record about, like, I was just asking you about YouTube strategy and you're like, look, I just do research on what people are kind of looking for and I create content around that. And so if you
Mhm.
can do that, if you think about the main pillars of any business or anything that we need in our life, you think about that, like habits with productivity. These are things that people are searching for. So you want to create an app that people actually want to use, because sometimes our ideas we think are cool, but maybe the market doesn't think it's cool. So the market never lies. And this is a way for you to kind of listen to the market and improve upon it as well.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. All right. So thank you so much, Steve. And I'll chat with you again, I'm sure.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. See you.